What's up, everybody? Welcome back into another edition of SSPN Postgame. I'm Jude. I still get it wrong every time. That's my man, Ethan. And we just watched a pretty thrilling Spurs game this weekend. I know it was a loss, so I was wrong on my prediction, but I think I was right in the fact that this was the one this week that we had the best chance of winning. As this almost went to double overtime, and really the Spurs had two chances to win this game, but just couldn't convert. Ethan, give me your thoughts on this 122 overtime loss to the Grizz.
I mean, start to finish, it was a complete game from everybody. I felt it was a very competitive game. I know we got down early, I think by 14 points in that first quarter, but we just never let up. Our second unit looked great. They brought
Mm-hmm.
energy. Romeo Langford looked great defensively, as well as getting to the basket and creating shots for others. Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott able to score close to that 10-point mark. Jay Rich had 13, Dougie had 9. So when those two guys get close to that 10 to 15-point mark, it's going to be easier for our guys to in the starting lineup to kind of do what they do. And then our two best players, KJ and Devin, 22 points each. That's what they're supposed to do, and they were able to succeed offensively tonight. Sorry about the dog. He was really, really quiet until just now when I got on here.
That's how it works, right?
Yeah, literally. Or I'm sorry, Jakob had 22. KJ had 16. I know KJ struggled shooting tonight, but able to get to the cup. Found other ways to contribute when his shot wasn't falling, trying to get boards, fight for the offensive rebound, putbacks, etc. Sohan, couldn't have asked for a better game from him. I think this might have been his best game of the year so far. Very efficient defensively as well as offensively. Able to hit a three early on. It's just tough that we couldn't pull it out in the end. That's just, the experience is just what lost tonight for us. Memphis has more experience. They're a more talented team, and they ended up pulling away. But we had the opportunities to win. We just couldn't capitalize.
Yeah, this comment from our man Pablo here, he says, I felt we should have ran a play through Sohan at the end,
That's what I
who got
told
us
you,
in position
texted
to
you.
win. And that was the reason I brought it up before
Yeah.
when me and Ethan were texting at the end of that one, and he was like, this is going to be a lob to Sohan. And it ended up working out, being a great play. Just couldn't convert. But, really, I think not to just steal Bill and Sean and what they said and make that what our show is. But I really think they described it perfectly. It's like, this is a team, not to make excuses, but just this is also the reality. Memphis, yes, they're a younger team. Obviously not more than the Spurs. I just mean like in the league, they're a younger team. But they have more vets. You have Steven Adams in there as well. But they just have the experience. Like, they've gone through a deep playoff run. They've had to play, 3 different series with each other. And like, they're just going to handle the start of that overtime better, as they're just going to handle those situations better because they're more experienced in them, point blank. Right. And our
Mhm.
guys are still learning how to win games and kind of going through those growing pains in order to be able to execute and get the dub at the end of the day. But this game, really, I had a lot of positive takeaways from this game. This just
Me too.
reinforced the idea that these guys can compete with most teams that they play night in and night out. Especially if Devin and Keldon are going, because that's the other thing. If Keldon has a normal shooting night, this game, I think that obviously the game will go different, like every game would, just depending on the flows of momentum and stuff. But it really feels like if Keldon had a shooting night that he normally didn't have an off one, the Spurs would have pulled this one out.
I mean, from the free throw line, if he had just hit 2 more free
Right.
throws, we got a tie game. He only shot 60%
Hmm.
tonight, and everybody kind of struggled from the free throw line. It's been a common theme throughout the season. I don't know what our
It's been
season
around the
stats
league
are.
too. It's been
Yeah,
down around the league. It's not just the Spurs. So
but have you seen that
interesting
stat
trend.
though? Everyone shoots free throws way better against the Spurs.
Oh my
Like they like the average is like
god.
10% better than their
We
normal
can't
average when they're
escape
playing the Spurs. I don't
anything.
know what it is, but they just shoot better when they play us. I don't think that's
They have more confidence.
I guess that might be it. And props to the Memphis Grizzlies, man, because they played phenomenal as well. Desmond Bain and Ja both had 32. I don't think we can. This is just they played a better game. I don't think the Spurs lost this game. I know that's a common like trope that everyone says. Did you win it or did you lose it? Or you know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
But this would be a perfect case to use the Memphis Grizzlies won this game rather than the San Antonio Spurs lost
yeah.
it. Yeah, free throw defense is atrocious.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, just some other takeaways from this game. Jay Rich, another thing, he was playing really well until kind of
Hmm.
the fourth quarter. So it's like if
Yeah.
he was playing the way he was, not to he is not the reason we lost the game at all. He's a
No.
big part that they were in it. But it the turnovers, there were some mistakes kind of in that fourth quarter from him, and that's when you were texting me. You're like, gotta get Devin in, and Pop was doing his thing where he leaves the hot guy out until the last 6 or 7 minutes, like he did with Manu all the time. Obviously, it's different because Devin's a starter, but it's that same similar thing. Um, Another thing though that our man Edward Fowler just brought up. I'm
Mm,
impressed with Bassey, as in
me
Charles
too.
Bassey. Huge game from him tonight, Ethan. And was it not just like a gift wrapped thing? I almost tweeted this, but I decided I just wanted to save it for the show. Um, I almost I already said that. Anyways, Charles Bassey was like gift wrapped to the Spurs in the timing of everything
Yeah.
because now Zach's going to be out with his fracture for, I want to say, at least a month. So huge to have Charles Bassey on the roster, and to use up his two-way days here. You may need to Charles. I don't know why I'm thinking about Charles Barkley, Sean Elliott, two
Hmm.
completely different people. He was also mentioning on the broadcast, like, hey man, we need to get Charles. We need to give him an apartment, a house. He's not going back
Yeah, I
to
heard that
Austin, man.
too.
Like, no, and so, but it's just huge because like if you didn't have that depth, I mean, it would be not to say like Gorgie is serviceable, but Charles Bassey is really looking like a nice pickup I mean, I don't know. We'll see as time progresses, but it really feels like kind of a steal for the Spurs, picking him up after it seems like he wasn't really tapped into
Hmm.
in Philadelphia at all because he's shown a lot so far. And just like the other thing that I noticed, just to continue talking about him, is it was like this dude, you can tell he's ready for NBA rotation minutes.
Oh yeah.
He can be a backup center anywhere. And so the fact that we just kind of like got him gift wrapped, because of the context of everything else going on. And then now Zach gets hurt. I mean, just huge to have him on the team. So shout out to the front office for signing him.
He's a great pickup because, I mean, I don't know. His offensive game wasn't what was touted when he came out of college. He was really just a defensive minded center, a big body, strong, fights for rebounds. He tries to block everything, which I love. He had four
Hmm.
fouls in 16 minutes. Like, that's how you know he's an aggressive player. But offensively, he looks like he's got some nice touch. He took 1 3, he missed it, but it didn't look bad. I'd like to see him continue taking those, trying to space the floor for us. Because Zach's a good face up player. He can shoot, a great passer. But where he struggles is getting beaten down, and that's where Pop has thrown in Gorgie at times to try and take some of that
And
load off of Zach's
playing
shoulders.
Zach at the 4 too, because
Yep.
sometimes he can match up better there, which I think will be interesting with Charles Bassey if he continues to play the way that he is. I
Mhm.
wonder if like maybe down the line we move, and maybe this kind of suck for old boy Romeo Langford, who played great tonight. We'll talk about him a little bit more in depth later. But I wonder if Charles and Zach will end up seeing some time together. Once Zach gets back healthy, if he keeps up this play style.
I hope so. I think they would complement each other very well because
Yeah.
Basie really has great positioning down low. I don't know, like every shot that we took, he was able to get in a spot to at least tip the ball.
Hmm.
A lot of times we kind of just watch our long rebounds and we don't, attack them, which is fine. It's probably by design that we want to get back in transition defense because that's where we've struggled in the past. But he's able to position himself so well because he's so big and physical. That's something that we've been missing because Gorgie's physical, but he's also old as heck, and he's not
Hmm.
very
Right.
athletic anymore. So now we have a young guy that is also physical. It's just a great contrast next to Zach, who's more of a you know speedy center, light in the backside kind of deal.
I like the way you described it, but yes, he's they list him as a center forward because he can kind of stretch the floor,
Yeah,
has that passing ability. He's just a slimmer big, and
yeah,
this really ties
slim.
in to
That's
what
what I
to
was
what our
looking for.
to what our guy Swatcho Bros is saying here. Spurs just got to get better at rebounding these first quarters where the opposing teams get on fire, really fueled by the second and third chances they get, which is
Yeah.
why once again Charles Bassey is so huge to kind of have that. Not only is he literally huge, but pause 6'11", 245. But
Yeah.
anyways, the point is to have some. He's even more physical than Zach is on the interior. So it's to have him come in once again. That is huge for that issue as well, and he'll continue to get better as well because he's super young. Like, and they're going to continue to develop him, which is pretty exciting.
I know we won't do it, Jude, but he gets very good positioning offensively too. He gets like right in the restricted area, especially when he has a mismatch, and he's able to lock
We
his
like to
guy
make it that
in.
way, Edward.
He's able to lock his guy in the paint. And like a few times tonight, Jay Rich in particular missed him in the low block. He was, had the mismatch wide open down low, and we never threw it to him. Maybe that's a chemistry thing. Maybe that's just why would we throw it to Bassey, who just came up from the G League? Like, I'm not going to give you this ball. I'm a veteran. We're going to move it
Mm,
around out here. Come set some picks. Like, it could be that. But I'd like to feed him a little bit more. Why not? I mean, he's so big and imposing. He got 30 points, twice in the G League. Obviously, he
right.
knows how to score. He had a nice baby hook tonight. Like, let's try and look for him more often because he clearly has some skill that wasn't tapped into.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the real exciting thing because he's only 21 years old. And I
Yeah.
keep forgetting this again. I think we talked about this last time, but he went to high school in San Antonio. They were
Hmm.
talking about that again on the broadcast. It's like he's just really happy to be back in San Antonio. I'm like, this is just like I said, this was like gift wrapped. Like
Literally.
when you add in that context again, it just reinforces it. It just
A
works out
young
right.
center that wants to be in San Antonio? Sure.
At least he's not big for no reason, too. And that was the other thing I was thinking during this game, Ethan. I was like, for the past 2 years, like this is like in the LaMarcus, like DeRozan days, it was almost like it would have been better to have somebody like we've been asking for somebody like this, like at the center position, literally since then. Like it's been so long, like since like Tiago. Like
Hey, now we did have my boy Eubanks. Don't
we
be
go.
don't be disrespecting Drew like that. He just had a
Drew,
14.9
look,
rebound, 3 block game for
this is
Portland.
and
So,
this is why it's perfect. He Drew is back home and now Charles is back home. It was
perfect swap.
exactly what we needed. Right.
Hmm.
What are some other things that we can take away from this game, Ethan?
Jakob looked good, looked aggressive. Finally, offensively, especially
He had 2
22
steals
points.
tonight.
Yeah, like finally he actually looked like he had
Yes.
a
Yeah, no,
fire
he
lit
got
under
back
him.
into rhythm, right,
Yeah,
and we saw that a lot earlier in the year, which is why he had 22 tonight. And the way he rolls, like that, there were so many times tonight, like with Keldon not being able to shoot well, that Trey was just like, "Screw it, I'm just gonna run a pick and roll with Jakob," and that's a good play. Like a
yeah,
lot of the time, which you love to see that's a testament to their chemistry. That's a testament to once again what you just said, kind of Jakob, playing a little bit more with that fire under his butt. Um, and then also, of course, to Trey Jones, whenever he was able to beat a lot of people off the dribble tonight, get buckets. Once again, this is all kind of making up for Keldon not having the greatest shooting night, which just made what he did even more needed. Um, and then on top of that, of course, is playmaking. That's the other thing that you got to always mention. Trey Jones, 11 and 11 tonight. I didn't put him on the stat sheet, but I should have. Didn't have the best shooting night, but it doesn't matter. Found a way to get a double double. Got a steal. Contributed. Had 4 boards tonight as well too.
that's another thing that you just sort of alluded to, Jude, that I didn't even realize that
I'm
it's a
so
good
glad y'all
takeaway.
brought this up.
Oh yeah, Jakob Zero was dirty, dirty,
Yes.
dirty. Steven
Everybody was
Adams was
going crazy. Everybody was shook when that happened. Like the whole
that was
crowd, the whole bitch. Everybody was like Zach was over there. He was like,
yeah, pristine.
I
MVP
loved it.
Jakob. Yeah, something that you sort of alluded to there. It didn't feel like Keldon was having that bad a night. Like we were always in the
Hmm.
game, and that just shows that everyone was able to elevate their games offensively. I know we didn't get the win, and maybe we would have liked to one of our bench guys like Jay Rich or Doug to go off for the
Right.
closer to 20-point mark, but for Sohan got 13. Jakob got 22. Trey Jones with 11 and 11. That shows a lot of character in our young guys to be able to see that and then step up. Because a lot of times in the past, what's happened when KJ or Devin hasn't shown up? We've just gotten blown out. 30-point loss, 40-point
Right.
loss. Nobody's willing to take that next
We
step.
came back multiple times tonight too,
Yes, this was
just
a
to kind of
turning
add to
point,
this.
hopefully, for the rest of the team, other than their two guys. We're not worried about KJ and Devin. They're going to get to their numbers, but the rest of the guys finally taking that step up.
It just depends on injuries, Ethan, because that's all what
Mm,
this is tying back to. I hate to say,
yep.
like, Jakob is a little bit different because he kind of, he played the whole time. But like Sohan, I feel like the reason he was able to find more success tonight is just because, like we talked about, he got out of rhythm. These young players, they have to get into rhythms, and he got sick, and then had to kind of find his way back in. And it's like, okay, this was how he was looking right before he got sick.
Yeah, it's true.
What was the stat sheet? 13. Okay, didn't have as many boards as he usually does, but still. And he hit that 3 to start the game, which was good to see as well.
That two
had two steals,
rebounds.
and that
Yeah,
steal late. Literally, he was the reason. Those two plays late, he was the reason we were in the game. And
true.
yeah, just you love Sohan, and it's great to see. Like for these past couple years, we've been asking this. Like we're starting him and we're playing him. I mean, let me see his exact minutes. Yeah, the starter level minutes. We're playing him
Mhm.
30 minutes a night as a rookie in clutch situations, and he's doing well and getting better every game. It feels like so. You love to see that from him as well.
Those 2 rebounds, I know we'd like to see more rebounds, but that's a little misleading because what he does so well is just tip the ball to Jakob or our other guys or swat it out in order for
So
Trey
much
Jones
stuff
to get that
not on the
long
stat
rebound
sheet.
and push. Yeah, he's able to get those tips that are so important, especially getting into transition. And I like that in a player because that shows he's not selfish. He's not just trying to stat pad. He
Uh
wants the
huh.
ball in the best place for the offense to get going, and it shows a lot of wherewithal and a lot of intelligence in somebody that's so young.
Yep.
So that is a misleading stat. Still, we'd like to get it up because we did get out
He'll
rebounded
get
53
5.
to
He'll get
39.
5
Yeah,
usually.
he'll get closer to that 5,
Yeah.
hopefully higher than that mark. Um, what was I going to say other than that? I had a
Keldon
bunch.
had 6 tonight too. He
Yes,
found he was
8. He had 8.
had some he had 8. There you go. Yeah, he had some big boards too down the stretch, and he hasn't been doing that as much this year, but like you could tell in this game because he was struggling, he was like, "All right, I'm going to kind of impose my will a little bit more on offense and defense, specifically in the paint," because he was like, "I'm not working as well on the perimeter, so let me find a way to contribute," which you love to see
Yeah.
that also.
There was one thing I noticed defensively, and as far as pick and roll defense
We'll get to
goes.
your question, Edward.
Yeah, sorry, Edward.
No, you're good.
As far as pick and roll defense goes, I don't know what the solution is, Jude. I don't have a basketball degree. I didn't play
Mhm.
competitively enough to know. But Jaw and Desmond and I'm sorry, who was their other guard? Let me just look at the paper. Tyus and Dylan. Every time they used Steven Adams in a pick and roll, especially when it was kind of a lower pick and roll, like kind of
Mhm.
in that mid range area, Trey's doing his darndest to fight over those screens. God
All of
bless
them
him.
are. Dude,
Yeah, they
everybody
are.
was trying so hard.
But the issue is every time they get over those screens and Jakob has to show, Jakob's doing a good job. That's what he's supposed to do because that's John Morant. You can't just let him get all the way to the rack. But even if one of those guys misses their layup or their floater, whatever it may be, nobody's getting a body on Steven Adams or Conchar. We're letting these bigs in the dunker spot kind of get to their spot and get tip backs. And I think that's where we got majorly out rebounded is nobody's rotating and getting a body on him. The only guy I saw consistently do it is Trey, but poor Trey is always going to be the smallest guy on the floor, so he's not going to be able to box out a Steven Adams who had 19 boards tonight. Yeah, 19 boards. So I don't know what the solution is, but something to keep your eye on because I'm sure Pop's not too happy about that.
No, that's something that's kind of been happening throughout all games. I think it was a little bit worse in this game just because Steven Adams is so good at screens. And I think also that the Grizzlies kind of run a lot of handoffs, like with
Yeah.
screens and stuff too. Um, so that I think it was a little bit more highlighted tonight just because of the Grizzlies offense and Steven Adams. But in the past, it's just like I think it's just the way we're playing defense. Like something with our defensive scheme is just causing that. And I think that like at least as of right now, we'll see how it goes on with the season progresses. That might be something that Pop's just kind of accepting
Mm,
because like you got to give a little to take a little, with
yeah.
some with everything. So I think that might just be something that they feel like their best path to win is you're gonna have to just fight over those screens every time and try to win your one on one as best as you
Mm,
can and contest. Um,
yeah. And it did
because
feel like
that's
every
been
ball
kind
was
of
rolling.
happening
Yeah.
every game. Like I feel like it was more exacerbated in this one, but I feel like we've kind of seen that throughout the season, which have led to wide open looks.
Yeah, and it did feel like every loose ball, every long rebound really did bounce right to the Grizzlies. I don't know if you felt that way
Dude,
too. Like we just could
the
not
rim.
catch a break.
I was texting you about the rim. Like there were
Oh,
so many, and that's not an excuse, but it was like I feel like so many other times these shot like nothing was wrong with their shot, it just rimmed out. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And sometimes that happened, and it felt like that just happened consecutively down the stretch specifically. And so that was just tough. I mean, I can think of a tray floater that was off the backboard. It's like that's great off glass and just
Couple, yeah.
bounces out. Keldon, whoever, right, the game winner, right, all that stuff. But it happens. But I want to get to Edward's question because we talked about this earlier. I kind of foreshadowed it to it. Romeo Langford played great. He's another person who's just been huge in the wake of this, everything that went on with Primo, like and not having as much guard depth. The way that he has played has just been awesome. Pop said he might be their best on-ball defender. You tweeted it during the game. Romeo is guarding everyone right now. You love to see it. You love to see it. I know not the most developed offensive player, not the most what's the word? Scary offensive player when he's got the ball in his hands. He could do some things, but mainly his job is to kind of not make mistakes. And, if you have a wide open drive, go take it, or a wide open shot, take it. But still, I mean, once again, in the wake of everything, he's just been huge. So I think he will continue to get run, Edward, because you saw the big difference between him and Malachi tonight. And obviously all love to Malachi. He's going to go develop in Austin, and that'll be better for him. But you saw kind of the difference between Romeo and Malachi tonight, because I think if Malachi was in, you would have had a lot more mistakes, and maybe that could have led to this being like a 10-point loss that doesn't go to overtime. You know what I'm saying? Where
Yeah.
Romeo's out there causing havoc on defense every time, may not be the most imposing offensive player, but doesn't make mistakes, has experience, and knows to just do the right thing. And I feel like Pop's system, the Spurs system, is also kind of tailored to role players playing like that.
Yeah.
So he's playing his role greatly, and he's a big reason that the Spurs were in the game tonight. And he's going to be a reason that they'll be in games, later that are competitive for sure.
He's gradually gotten better as far as effort. I think that we have seen, like in the preseason, we both thought maybe his body language seemed off, like he wasn't, trying as hard as some of the other guys on the team. That is completely flipped. He is giving 110% effort on defense, especially every single night. And his offensive game is slowly improving. He's getting more confident. Like you said, he really only has two options: either take the wide open three, but if he can get you on that hezzy and get to the rim, he's surprisingly good at finishing with either hand. He's pretty creative around the rim.
He's got a solid handle too.
That is
He's
true.
not just a potato.
And a better playmaker than I was giving him credit for in preseason and in offseason.
Yep.
So shout out to him. He will only continue to improve. I do think he will continue to get minutes as well as that backup too. But dude, he was guarding Tyus Jones, Ja Morant, Desmond Bain, Dylan Brooks, Roddy, Laravia, anybody that he switched onto, he was willing and able and took up that challenge. So I love to see that heart in a young guy like this. Hopefully he's able to evolve into like a Bruce Brown archetype or a Danny Green if his shot is ever to, improve to that level.
It looks
But
better.
it does look better.
Didn't he hit 2 free throws tonight too?
I think so.
Let me double check that. Yes,
Yeah,
he did.
2 for 2. 2 for 2 and 2 for 2 from the or 2 for 4 from the field. He is looking a lot more comfortable, Houston Oilers. He did need an opportunity with the Spurs. I feel like he was being held back in Boston, and not because they just had too many players at his position. He wasn't
Right.
going to have an impact there. He's able to have an impact here, and if his confidence continues to rise, hopefully he's able to pan out how Boston thought he would pan out when they drafted him as high as they did.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing, you were talking about his body language and how we had maybe had comments about that before. I think I'm realizing also now that we've watched Romeo more, he's just not the most expressive guy.
That's true
But
too.
you can tell, like he's showing it in his effort. Like that is not we're completely off base on that. So definitely, like we said, just shout out to Romeo, man. Shout out to Romeo. Any final thoughts on this game, Ethan?
It was a great game. Don't let the loss
Yep.
sway your opinion if you weren't able to see it. Don't think, oh, we played like trash. This was a really competitive game that we could have had several opportunities to win, but experience once again got Memphis Grizzlies the W.
Yeah, I think the key thing is here, Keldon went 4 for 15 overall and 2 of 8 from 3, and you still put the 8-4 Grizzlies to overtime.
Yeah.
And had 2 opportunities to win the game. That really, one should have gone in. One was the freaking rim, and the other should have gone in too. Like you got 2 great looks. It's young guys. Eventually, like our man Jeff McLanahan says, is they'll win these types of games in the future, and I truly believe it. Like I think that next year or eventually, regardless, Keldon and Devin are going to be making those shots. I really believe in them. I'm really loving what I'm seeing. It's early in the year, but I am, as of right now, I am full on like to strap me up. I'm ready for Keldon's contract. I'm ready.
Pause.
I'm ready. I'm ready for Devin's contract, whatever we extend him, and let's run with these 2 guys to the promised land. and whatever else we can get. I love Trey too. I
Yeah.
love so many people.
Who needs Wembanyama when you got Bassey coming up? He's
I
about to be
know,
a
dude.
30 and 10 guy.
Psh, psh.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
he's a sniper too.
He is a sniper.
All right, y'all. Well, we appreciate you guys watching SSPN post game. We're not doing Friday, correct?
No, because
No,
I'm
we are
I'm
not.
unavailable. You can
Yes,
do it if you want by yourself,
I,
but
I may be. I may be able to do it. We'll see. We'll see. But the Spurs have a date with the Milwaukee Bucks, so that will be fun to see the guys match up with Giannis.
yeah.
But glad that the Spurs are playing like the old Spurs. We've said this
Mm.
again many times, but Mark puts it great. The old the old Spurs ball movement is back, and we love to see that. So we appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming out. Go Spurs, go. We'll catch you guys in the next one. And if you did like today's show, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe below. Road to 1,000. We appreciate y'all, and we'll catch y'all in the next one.